What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through the final team talk for Game Week 1. So quite a clever title I thought about for our final video of the preseason, and today is going to be deadline day. So hopefully I do see you guys later on for the deadline stream a few hours before the deadline, but we will be locking in those final team selections and answering all your questions. Now don't worry if you guys can't make that specific live stream. In this video I'll be going through my own final team selection, as well as going over the questions you guys have asked me over the past few days. So who's the best 4.5 defender, Guardiola versus Gabriel, injury updates and kind of new signing updates, and then finally ending it off with my final team. So hopefully you guys are absolutely hyped for this upcoming Game Week 1, as well as the entire FPL season. But heading back to this video, if you guys are interested to see the talking points and my final team, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Now the first talking point is going to be the concerns. This could be for new signings or it could be from injuries. And I want to give you guys a reminder that on Friday, we're going to have a ton of press conferences. So those will hopefully give us some more information about potential injuries, as well as starting positions. So please make sure that you guys are focused on those throughout the day. Now I will update you guys in the deadline stream later, of course. Hopefully there's no big injury news that comes about today. Unfortunately though, over the past few days we've had some big injury news as well as some new signings, and therefore some nailed options might not be that nailed. So the first player I want to talk about is going to be Bob from Manchester City, and unfortunately the youngster has apparently fractured a bone in his leg and therefore is going to miss probably the entire season. Now there's a few managers out there with Bob in their team, either as a nailed option or as a rotation piece, so if you're one of those managers, please consider another option. Now his price point was pretty cheap, 5.0 million, so unfortunately you guys probably can't get a Man City player for that price, but you can go for Rodgers from Aston Villa at the same price point. So very unfortunate for Bob, looked like this might be a breakout season for the Man City star, so hopefully he recovers quite well. Then next up is going to be one of the Brighton assets, Barco at 4.0 million. Now the defender looked to be nailed for the opening few fixtures, but we got news today that Estupiñán has been training this week. So both of them do play the same position, and therefore Barco might be a rotation risk, as you probably wanted him from Game Week 4 onwards. So once again, I would suggest going for another alternative. You guys can go there. A Johnson from Ipswich or going for a Harwood Bellis from Southampton. Just doesn't make sense to go for Barco for the first game or second game, and then he gets rotated. So if you guys have watched my final team selection, you guys will know that I had Barco in my team, so I'll have to make a change in terms of my players. Now the final option also from Brighton, João Pedro, a popular option at that cheap price point. We got news today that Brighton are making a star signing at centre forward. Now João Pedro and the new signing might not even play the same position, so he might still be okay. But with the amount of attackers that Brighton have at the moment, you got to expect some expected minutes reduction. So I just want to put this out there, I wasn't going to go for João Pedro anyways because the first three don't look strong. But if you were going for him, you might want to also look elsewhere, which probably means going for a more expensive option. So for my own team, I went for a Muniz. You guys go for a Chris Wood, or you go for someone like a Solanke that's even more expensive, but you might have to shift some funds around. So these three options have been the biggest kind of concerns at the moment. As mentioned, hopefully today there's no more surprises. Now the next player isn't a concern at the moment, however he could become a major one, and that's going to be Eze from Crystal Palace. So unfortunately, kind of linking to the previous talking point with that Bob injury, this might accelerate Man City signing a new attacker, and Eze has been rumoured as he has a release clause. So we've had some rumours of potentially Man City looking to sign him, but nothing concrete at the moment. Now you might be asking me, why do I want Eze not to move to Man City? It's a better team, a better attack, and the simple reason is that Pep loves to rotate. You probably will see that Eze won't start this season if he signs for Man City, as Pep likes to integrate his players through the training sessions. So if Eze stays at Crystal Palace and we get some concrete news, that might be unlikely though with a few weeks left of the transfer window, but if he does stay at Crystal Palace, I believe is a great asset at 7.0 million. Now there is some concern though, should I actually go for him, should I not? There is that doubt in the back of my mind, and therefore I might look to take him out in my current team. So I've got two replacements here, one more expensive, one less expensive. Unfortunately at 7.0 there's not that many options, but at 7.5 you guys can go for Anthony Gordon. Now there might be some concerns about a starting position, but I do believe he will play, and you guys will know Southampton at home in Game Week 1 looks simply outstanding. Now once again, you guys will have to find an extra 0.5 then, and I'll show you where I'm going to find that in my own team, or you go for someone cheaper like a Leon Bailey from Aston Villa. So really like Bailey, from game week 3 onwards, Aston Villa's fixtures are simply outstanding, should be nailed in that attacking 3, and the most important thing is he's cheaper than Eze comes in at. It's a very viable option. I think that you guys can look at him. Probably that game week 2 fixture against Arsenal, the reason not many people are looking at Aston Villa, but as mentioned after that, it's a sea of green. So I don't want to put doubt in your guys' minds about Eze. He's a great asset. I'm just telling you guys what I'm experiencing in my own team, as it might be relevant to you. Now the next talking point I got a lot of questions about was, when am I planning to wildcard? Now I'll give you guys my honest answer here. I honestly have no idea, and I don't really think an early wildcard is in my mind at the moment. I get the appeal of maybe wildcarding in game week 4, game week 3. The transfer window will close shortly, you'll have all your information, and you can see which teams start the season quite well. Now if you guys have been following my channel for quite a while, you'll know that I usually wildcard in the last possible game week, and that's going to be around game week 16 or 18. So end of December, you guys have to have used your first wildcard, and that's why I usually use it around then. But there's no kind of set strategy on when to do it, it's very team dependent. So that's my kind of honest answer. I don't have any plan to wildcard at the current moment, but it's perfectly fine if you guys already planned it out and are aiming for kind of game week 4, game week 6. Now I'm going to put the top 3 teams on screen right now. That's Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool, because I think a lot of people's kind of wildcarding is around these fixtures, and that's why game week 6 looks so appealing. So basically what people are saying is, if you look at Arsenal from game week 1 to game week 5, they have Aston Villa, Spurs and Man City in that first 5, so you can probably avoid their assets and get them all back in on a game week 6 wildcard. Also around then, Man City have Arsenal as well as Newcastle, and Liverpool's fixture run turns a little bit worse, and therefore you can ship those assets out. So people are kind of stacking Trent, stacking Salah for the opening fixtures, and then on the wildcard, they'll obviously take them out. Now a very kind of important reminder about the rules change for FPL this season, and that's the fact that you can stack multiple transfers. So 2 is no longer the limit, you guys can stack I think up to 5. So what you could actually do is just stack transfers till game week 6, and then use your own kind of mini wildcard with those free transfers. That's why for me, I don't have a plan at the moment, but if I need to use it, I will. I'm not very scared of it, but I'm not basing my team at the moment around an early wildcard. If you guys maybe have some set logic and you've kind of worked it out and game week 6 is the best wildcard week, drop it in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure wildcarding late in the season will be equally as optimal. Now the next talking point is very close to home. This is a 50-50 I've been debating on since my first draft, and that's who to go for, Guardiola or Gabriel. Now you guys might notice I've gone for Gabriel as my Arsenal defender. If you're debating between him and Saliba, I still prefer Gabriel for the increased attacking threat, and I expect both of them to be pretty nailed at the start of the season. Now the first debate I want to have is going to be about the fixtures. So both these two options I think should be pretty nailed. There's a big talking point though about Guardiola. Will he be as advanced as he was towards the end of last season? And Rodri returned to the club I think this week. So against Chelsea, they might not be that defensively secure, and therefore I think Chelsea will probably score. But let's now analyze the fixtures and see how many clean sheets we can predict. So on the left hand side, for Man City, I would probably say that sea of green I can see 3 clean sheets. But I can see Chelsea, Arsenal and Newcastle all scoring. So I think that's pretty strong. 3 out of 6 clean sheets is quite nice. And obviously Guardiola does have a potential for attacking threat. Now on the right hand side, there's Arsenal assets. I can also probably see 3 clean sheets. And that's the home games against Wolves, Brighton and Leicester. Now in the mix there, we do have Aston Villa and Spurs, which I probably would say are slightly easier than the Chelsea-Newcastle ones. And both teams play each other in game week 5. So just to go over the numbers, I'm expecting 3 clean sheets from both teams, and therefore maybe Gabriel's the better option because he plays for the better defense. That is purely from a fixtures basis though. I think this one is quite close, and that's why it's so hot picking between them. Let's see if the stats make this debate slightly easier. I'll bring them up on screen right now. So I got these stats from Fix as well as the projected points. You can see that Gabriel was a lot more nailed than Guardiola last season. Now maybe Pep didn't really like Guardiola at the start of the season, but as it went on, he became more nailed, whereas Gabriel was a rock in that back 4. Now Guardiola actually offered more XG involvement. This is XG plus XA, 0.18 compared to 0.12. In terms of expected FPL points per 90 minutes, he also had the edge there with that increased attacking threat at 5.12 compared to 4.77. Now in terms of the overall teams, Man City had a worse defense in terms of XG conceded to Arsenal, and I think we all knew that Arsenal defense is the best in the Premier League. Now finally, in terms of projected points, Gabriel is expected to score slightly more, 22.4 compared to 22.6. Now that was over the opening 6 game weeks, and you guys can just see by that factor, it's so close between these assets. And because it's so close, surely you go for Gabriel as he's kind of playing for the better defense. It's just those increased attacking numbers for Guardiola that have caught my eye, but people have been saying that he might not be playing as advanced in this new Man City lineup. It's a very kind of tough debate. I don't even think I've given myself clarity on this, but I think I might have to give this edge to the Arsenal man Gabriel. This will be a change from my actual lineup heading into Game Week 1 then, as I had Guardiola on my latest draft. But you guys comment down below, who's your favorite option between these two, or am I completely wrong and should I actually go for Saliba? Just a very close debate, and therefore as mentioned, surely I go for the more kind of nailed defense, as Guardiola could always be rotated. Now the final talking point before we go over my actual team is going to be who's the best 4.5 defender, and this is a very tough debate. So what I've done here is I've actually gone over my top 8 options. Yes, that's right. How are we going to choose between them? Now I'll be going over them from top to bottom. I've got Konza from Aston Villa, Anderson, my boy from Crystal Palace, Van der Ven from Spurs, who should be nailed. We've then got Kwanzaa from Liverpool, that should be nailed at the start of the season, but might rotate with Konate if he drops his performances. Then we've got Hall from Newcastle, an option at fullback that should be fine, but if Newcastle go and sign a new kind of centre back like a Gay, Dan Burn and him might rotate. Then Martinez for United, they've just made some kind of defensive reassurance signings. He might be going a little bit under the radar at the moment, as United defensively aren't usually terrible. Then finally, very popular option, Robinson from Fulham, and then Mikalenko for Everton. Now these 8 options, I've also gone over the kind of projected points they expected to score the most points out of the 4.5s, but it's very close between them. And that's what I want to say about your 4.5 is you can't have that much expectation for them. At this price point, you guys want to go for a player that's nailed to start, and when they have a good fixture, they could have a good chance of a clean sheet. So I would rule out any player that's 4.5 and not nailed, as that kind of defeats the purpose of choosing them in your team. That's why personally I really like a player like a Konza or an Anderson, and Robinson and Mikalenko also fit in that bracket. Now these other options, they might play for better teams, but they offer less expected minutes, but it's your team and you guys could always take a punt on them. Now if you guys are looking for 2 kind of 4.5s to rotate for one position, I would definitely look at the fixture planning and plan your rotations. It's kind of the reason that I've put Fulham and Everton together, Robinson and Mikalenko. You guys can see if you do rotate them, you get a home fixture except for game week 5 when Everton travel to Leicester, but between that the fixtures look simply outstanding. So what you guys should do with your 4.5 is look at the rest of your defense. If you have Trent, Guardiola, Gabriel, whoever you have in there, plan your rotations between all of them and select the team and the player that's nailed but also rotates the best. Now as mentioned, I believe Konza, Anderson, Robinson and Mikalenko are my favorites, but the middle pairings do offer more of a kind of attacking threat and maybe a better team, but possibly more rotation. You guys know who my favorite 4.5 is. It's Anderson from Crystal Palace, but there has been some concern of him potentially departing the club. So just plan whoever has the best rotation with the rest of your defense, and you probably can't go wrong with all of these 4.5s. Let me know who your favorite 4.5 is in the comments down below, and I'll talk about shortly who I'm planning to go for. Now the final talking point of the video and the final talking point of the preseason is going to be my final team selection. So don't worry, I'm not going to take you guys through every player discussing why I've selected them. You guys can go watch my team selection yesterday that I dropped, or you guys can ask me in the deadline stream coming up later tonight. So on screen right now is going to be my current team selection from my last video, but since then we've had some kind of concerns. So the first player is going to be Barco. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be going for him as I need some bench coverage, as currently I'm taking a punt on the 4.5 Bergville. Now the other option, Eze, I'm almost preparing myself to upgrade him, as I really like Gordon at his price point. So the 2 changes will therefore be Gordon coming in at 7.5 and then upgrading Barco to a 4.5. Now I could have gone for a Johnson from Ipswich at 4.0, but I might replace Harwood Bellis with him, and therefore I wanted a more reliable option at 4.5. So doing the quick maths there, you guys can see that I need 1.0 million, and I'm looking to take it from my defense. So the two variations I could actually go for here, the first one is to lose Trent Alexander-Arnold for a 6.0, and then I don't have to have the 50-50 debate. I can go for Gabriel and Guardiola. So between Gabriel and Trent, I know Trent offers that increased attacking threat. I would really love to have him in my FPL team, but this downgrade might make sense. I won't lie though, I don't really like it that much, and therefore I might get that extra 1.0 from Pedro Porro and downgrade him to a 4.5. So you guys can let me know which of these two downgrades do you prefer? Do you think instead of going for Gordon, I should just go for Bailey and then use that 0.5 to upgrade Barco, and then I can keep both Pedro Porro and Trent? I do like Gordon though, I think he has some massive kind of attacking threat over these opening fixtures. Definitely more secured than Bailey in my opinion. But if I do choose to downgrade Pedro Porro to a 4.5, I can go for that rotation pairing that I just spoke about, such as a Robinson and a Mikalenko, and alternate between them. Currently I'm going to keep Guardiola in the team, but as mentioned this could become Gabriel by that Gaming 1 deadline, and I think the rest of the team is actually looking pretty secure. I didn't have João Pedro up front, I had Muniz already, so that doesn't need a change, and I think Jot has a massive potential over the opening couple game weeks. Also feel a bit better having Jot in my team because I don't own Mo Salah. I've gone for the cheaper Saka. Now my goalkeeper might actually switch from Henderson to someone like a Flecken if I do choose Anderson as my 4.5, but these are very minor changes to the overall structure. So just going back to the original team, as you guys can see, if we get concrete news about Eze, even if we don't, I might upgrade him, downgrade him, and then I'll definitely be taking out Barco though, to a 4.5 of choosing. So you guys let me know, how does this team look with those changes made, which change you guys prefer for the downgrade, and how's your final draft actually looking? Always love to see what you guys are rocking with heading into that Gaming 1 deadline, and fingers crossed no extreme team news comes from those press conferences coming up shortly. But hopefully I do see you guys later for the deadline stream. We'll be suited up for deadline day, answering all your guys' questions and locking in my final team. But just wanted to say thanks for the support over this preseason, I do always appreciate it, and hopefully we're going to have an absolute bang of a season and get a 5th top 10k finish. But this is basically a wrap for the video guys, hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you didn't subscribe if you have subscribed yet, notifications on for when I do go live. Hopefully I see you guys there. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.